You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with Mike and Jesse.
Welcome back to Cyberia.
Hey, Zach, how's the ride?
Sporty. And how about telling me what's up?
Always to the point, my man. All right, here's the sitch. You'll rendezvous with the rig in about 10 minutes. Your contact is Santos. There's a TF-22 prepped and ready.
I've never flown a TF-22.
Not to worry, you won't be flying this one. The auto-nav is set to take you by optimum route to the Cyberia complex.
Trust is a wonderful thing.
I got you out of solitary, didn't I? Can't have you jetting around the globe instead of getting the job done, my man.
Just what is a job, Devlin?
Well, like I said, always to the point. All right,
And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Chip Grooves Radio, and we are back. It has been quite a while, Jesse.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. Things have been busy in a good way. But
Absolutely.
Very busy.
A lot of life changes, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, we are here to talk about finally. As some of you may know, we last recorded with our interview of Mike Kapitan, who wrote a couple video game soundtracks, but most notably Cyberia, which is a 1994 CD-ROM game. We're finally getting around to doing it after some setbacks here, but yeah. How you been? Where are you at? What are you playing these days? Before we get into it, any gaming going on?
Yeah, for sure. So, in what little free time that I have right now, thanks to getting ready for a move, just moving to basically the other side of the town that I live in right now. But come to find out, when you've got 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a house that you've lived in for like the better part of 10 years, you accumulate a lot of stuff.
Nah.
So yeah, that's been fun. It's an ongoing project. We'll put it that way. But yeah, in the little amount of free time that I've had to play stuff, I've actually been chipping away at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second game in the remake series. Actually just finished the last boss on normal mode on Saturday morning, one or the other. So now I have to decide if I'm going to take a little break. Oh, a lot of hours. I think it was like 120 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. There is a lot of side questing and miscellaneous stuff to do in the game, to the point that I think it might be a bit over the top. Like there were points when I was doing the exploration in each outdoor zone, that I was just like, oh my God, I'm sick of just running around and doing all these little fetch quests and what have you.
Which is essentially what every RPG these days turns into.
Yeah. and the first game was pretty linear. Like there wasn't really a ton of exploring you could do. It was basically, you go to a chapter and then you follow through the chapter and that's pretty much it. This game does have a lot of exploring. It's still like kind of linear because it's not like you can jump ahead to new zones before you get to them in the story. But there's more of an open world element. There's, you eventually get the tiny Bronco, so you can, travel around the world on the oceans and
shallow,
et cetera. But yeah, it just takes a long time. So I haven't beaten the, I guess we'll call it the end game boss yet, like the post game. And I won't give any spoilers because it's pretty cool. Especially the little fights that you have to do in preparation just to unlock the last battle are pretty dope.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I just have to decide if I'm taking a break or if I'm just going to dive right in and try to finish up just like the combat simulator stuff and that last end game fight. or if I'm just going to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to put this down for a little while. I feel like this game has a little bit more emphasis on skill in combat than the first one did. So I feel like if I set it down for too long, I'll get rusty. So I'm thinking.
So did they drastically change the combat?
No, not drastically. It's just refined. Like
Okay.
there's more in a lot of fights, even like regular, fights against like regular enemies. There's more emphasis on like dodging, parrying, blocking. Not like Souls level by any means, but you can't just button mash your way through fights, even some like regular enemies here and there anyway.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Haven't decided yet, but I don't know. Part of me wants to wait until the game is done before I continue on with it. The last time I touched Final Fantasy, I notoriously was having issue with the battle sim, but that's not a big deal. That's not why I'm making this decision, but I don't know if I have it in me to wait until it's complete. If I play the second chapter I feel like I'll lose interest before it's over. So I want to retain that, and I think I'm going to wait until everything's done and then just play through it. Because I think it might be a little bit better.
If you see it pop up on sale somewhere, I might just snag it.
Yeah.
And just start playing it just because it is long. I mean, if you're trying to be a completionist, God bless you. It would take you forever.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, even me playing casually and just trying to do most of the unlocks, I didn't even finish like one or two of the side quests because they were too annoying. And it still put me back, 110, 120 hours. So
yeah, I'm a completionist, but I also recognize when I'm never going to get something. So I gave up on the hard stuff in Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, I don't have time for this. But I mean, just the going back and replaying chapters for like the different dresses and stuff, that was almost unbearable for me. I'm like, okay, I know what I got to do. Just let me get there. It's tedious crap. So yeah, hopefully there's not too much of that, but I'm okay with it.
Nah, it's not too bad.
I've been playing Dune Awakening, sir. It is surprisingly extremely fun. And I'm not huge on survival games, but this one, of course, because it's Dune, it captured my interest. And I've got a couple of buddies that play pretty regularly, and it's a good time. I haven't had a real survival experience outside of back Ultima Online in 1998 when that game was taken over. Man, that's a good time. Kind of putting in the time, maybe an hour or so a week at most, or excuse me, at least, because I just don't have as much time as I used to as a kid. But it's really fun. Just kind of chip away at the story, and also, you have to keep your base running, that kind of shit, because you've got, it decays over time, real time. So if you don't log in, you could find yourself with nothing when if you log off for a month, which would suck. But it's a good time. Good time. But we should dive into Cyberia. And this is a game I've wanted to talk about for a long time. As we talked about in the interview, it's just one of those games that's always stuck with me. And a lot of that had to do with the music and the aesthetic of the game. It's not a particularly groundbreaking game, but it did do a lot of things that I would say were unusual. They did emphasize cinematics. They made it very theatrical. And the music was generally something I hadn't really heard before. It was very electronic, very mood setting, and fun to listen to. I know this was a new one for you. And give me some opening impressions of the soundtrack.
So I think that I had heard of this game, but it's just, it came out at a time when, it's not like kids had every game under the sun. It's not like we had Steam and a backlog of more games than we'll ever be able to play in our life. Like when you saved up enough time to get a game, you played through the game all the way, and then you brought it back. And then you moved on to another game, or if you were renting it, you played through it all the way and accrued ridiculous late charges, and then brought it back. So
I not to dive in. But I was notorious for renting Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo back to back, just so I could finish it.
Yep. So, that said, this is not a game that I played. I did play a lot of other PC games around the same kind of time frame. Like I played, like Doom 2. I played, I think TIE Fighter, the original TIE Fighter.
Oh,
was
yeah.
probably some of the most fun that I've ever had. And I think that was like not that far from this time frame. I'm pretty sure they came out around like roughly the same time. This is what, like 94, 95, something like that.
94, yep.
94, yeah. So it was pretty cool when you brought it up, because obviously this game made a pretty significant impression on you. And to hear you say that even like a soundtrack made an impression on you at such an early age in like your gaming career, such as it is, it was pretty cool. So, I mean, I'm assuming you played through this game all the way, part way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what did you have it for? Was it PC, or did you have, I think it was on like Jaguar or Saturn or something.
Yeah, I did have the original on PC. We had a CD-ROM. In fact, I believe it was my brother. He got it for Christmas. He, our parents it was that phase, kind of like what you're talking about. You didn't have everything. You didn't even know about everything. So they would just kind of pick something they thought sounded cool. And I think my dad picked this one out for my brother, and we installed it. And it was just so fun to watch him play, because it was a neat aesthetic. And it was a sci-fi action game, but it's kind of an on-rails shooter for half of it.
Yeah.
I did play through all of it, and it was very fun, because one of the pastimes of the game is how many ways can Zach die? And that's pretty much because the second half of the game is very puzzle oriented. So basically, if you fail something, he's going to die in a new hilarious way. So that kept my interest quite a bit, and it was just a fun game to watch him play and then try to dive in myself and figure the things out myself. So yeah, I did play through it as a kid. It was a blast to play and listen to, and it's just stuck with me. Every time I get an urge to go play an old PC game, this one inevitably comes up, along with like Dune 2 and and some others. But yeah, this is just a really good time.
Yeah. It's funny because, I think back to this time frame in video game history, and I feel like, especially for kids that had PCs, which I recognize was probably the minority, most kids played on consoles, as far as I know. I mean, there were some series that really got their starts all around the same time, because we had Cyberia, which I know was it wasn't quite a one-hit wonder, but I know that the second game wasn't really as well received as the first one.
No.
It didn't really, I think, do as well. And obviously there was no Cyberia 3. But, 1994, I just checked while we were talking, and TIE Fighter came out the same year. So I was playing TIE Fighter the same time you were playing this. And then I got kind of curious of like some other games that came out around the same time. And man, there were some huge ones in my own personal gaming history that came out around now. So System Shock, the original, came out in 94. Syndicate, phenomenal game from Bullfrog. Oh my God. Talk about a lost gem of a video game studio, Bullfrog Interactive. Whew, man.
Oh man.
Syndicate was 1993. And obviously, like, the Star Wars soundtrack in TIE Fighter, like, it's going to be cool no matter what, but it's not really a video game soundtrack. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But then you start thinking about the soundtracks of some of these other games that came out around the same time, like Syndicate, like System Shock. And like, these were really trend-setting, pivotal video game soundtracks in general, I think. Certainly made an impression on me. And obviously this one did on you.
Yeah. I mean, did you go back and listen to Syndicate? Or
oh yeah.
Is it worth revisiting? I mean, I'm more than happy to do that.
I think Syndicate Wars, which was the sequel, is probably the better one in that series. The gameplay is a lot better, and I think the soundtrack is probably a lot better too. It just came out I think it was 1996, so it was right around then. But that's definitely one that we're gonna have to we're going to have to think about, along with some of the other Bullfrog titles like fucking Dungeon Keeper. Oh man, Dungeon Keeper. So
Dungeon Keeper.
It's so much fun.
I will take your word for it, sir.
Oh man. Anyway, so this game made a big impression on you, and you've already kind of told us a little bit about why, but is what kind of made you want to reach back and pull this one out of the, you know, the dusty shelves of your memory banks to cover today?
It's an interesting question because the game itself is not terribly long. I think I watched a quote unquote long play of this game a couple years ago, and I think it was like an hour, maybe 54 minutes they could get through this thing. And that's, of course, if you've played it and you know what you're doing. But something that never got old, despite all the times you fail, and for those who don't know, the first half of the game is generally an on-rails shooter, right? So that means it never changes. So if you make a mistake, you blow up. You're in a essentially a futuristic ship where you're flying around. The goal is to get to this mountain base, this hidden science facility, and then the puzzle aspect of the game really begins. But the levels leading up to that, there are, I believe, 7 levels of you flying at different locations, and there are 2 ways to die. One, you get the shit kicked out of you. You know, you kill enemies, but they're too fast for you and they get off too many shots. That's one way to die. Second way to die is if you miss a key target that you don't necessarily know is a key target until you die. So if you forget or miss a target to blow up and you don't do it in time, you automatically fail the level. So you replay this game a lot depending on how difficult you're playing. And one thing I noticed in thinking back to my childhood is like this never really got old. Sure, I got frustrated from sucking at times, but the music always stuck with me, and it always has been a sense of joy to listen to when I'm playing. And I think that's really why it just keeps coming back. And that's really the only answer I have for that question.
Yeah, looking at it, you know, I think that this is a game that if you hadn't had some experience with it as a kid and you went to just go try it out on like just a retro game lark, I don't know that it would quite stick with most people. I mean, I look at it and it seems like a pretty unusual concept for a game because, I mean, you're basically flying on rails. Like it's all pre-rendered stages when you're in the flight anyway. So the only thing you're really controlling is like the targeting reticle, like shooting enemies down. And that's pretty much it. It's all played at a fixed pace and fixed level design. There's no piloting or anything like that, which is already like, it makes it kind of feel like a classic arcade game to me, you know?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times it was the same principle there. But then you've also got these like walking around puzzle levels. It's just it's a funny combination of different game styles. Yeah. So I'm happy that you had a grand old time with it, and you'd probably have a great time going back and playing it again. But it's a pretty weird looking game, I gotta be honest.
It is. It's not a common meshing of ideas. It is a very experimental game. And, you know, talking to Mike Kapitan, he was very aware. And by the way, I don't know if we've even said it, but yes, Mike Kapitan composed this soundtrack. He has been a student of music his entire life. He has an amazing amount of credits to his name, a lot of television work, ads, and things like that. He's also played on 2 Thomas Dolby records, and Thomas Dolby should be mentioned because he recorded and composed the first track on this album and the last one. But yeah, I mean, the aesthetics of the game really caught me. I'm a big sci-fi guy, fantasy too, but the moments in this game where they really dialed up the theatric and music are some of the things that last. And you get shivers sometimes during some scenes because of the way they present it. You know, yes, it's all pre-rendered, and yes, every time you play the same level, it's the same exact thing. But they approached it in a way that made it feel grander than maybe it was. And
it's the benefit of that the pre-rendered game style is it allows them to be a lot more cinematic in the music design. And that's something that Mike even mentioned, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he was playing, again, to the levels on a screen, right? So he's able to shape these things into exactly what he wants them to be by watching the levels play out on a TV or something. And that's what helps, I think, give him the opportunity to really play a little bit and find out what's going to get the biggest emotional reaction out of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you an On Rails fan? Did you ever really dig into those?
I can't really think of too many like on the rails styles games or shooters that I played, aside from like
Time
some arcade
Crisis.
games in particular.
Yeah.
Like Time Crisis is a good example of that. I also played, I remember very distinctly, for whatever reason, we went to the National Air and Space Museum like several years in a row when I was a kid. It was like we went to DC one year, we took a year off, we went another year, maybe I was with like a group or something. And at the National Air and Space Museum, for a while, they actually had a little room that was an arcade, and it was all classic, you know, air and space style shooters. And they had a bunch of them in there, including the original Star Wars arcade game that was all like, you know, the wireframe, almost like you were playing Battlezone, the tank game, but in space. I love the crap out of those. I don't think I ever had anything like that on a home system, though.
Yeah, there aren't too many. I was never a huge fan. I think for me, it was this game and fucking Time Crisis whenever I was at an arcade, but that's about it. And I can understand why people like it, because those are definitely high score games. Like, how well can you do? And that kind of experience never really hit me. But so yeah, I mean, the main through line of Cyberia is, I would say, spycraft, like techno spycraft, kind of like cyberpunk, but not really. All the tracks on this album have a little bit of attitude to them, but there's definitely on several tracks a more relaxing nature to some of them, and some of the textures he used were really evocative. Like I said before, there are 7 levels leading up to the walking section, the puzzle section, and those levels range from open ocean to cruising over small islands, seaports, mountain village, and more. So as you make your way through each level, enemies cross your path. They sneak up on you and generally make your life miserable. And then you can either get hit too many times again or miss a target. And there's a frantic nature to each of the levels at times. It does take practice. And again, I think the one thing that really made these levels enjoyable, playing them hundreds of times, is the music. So the sound design as a whole was really cool. The ship's onboard status update lady, I'll just call her Mother because I can't think of anything else. She keeps you updated about surrounding threats, mostly, but also some other stuff. And again, those cinematics just really strike at key moments in each level to really keep it exciting to play. So the first track I wanted to talk about is Archangel Military Port. And when I think of this soundtrack, there are certain tracks that come to mind. And mind you, there are no official titles because the soundtrack has not been released. But I think my favorite level theme is the port level. And it starts with a very poppy electronic percussion. The synth is pretty simple. There's a high-low melody as the drums keep going. In keeping with that spy theme, there are moments where a suspicious wind instrument kind of comes in and plays a little tune. The track is mostly percussion with timpani in the background hitting at big moments, which gives the level and theme some needed depth. One thing I like about this is as the level comes to a close, it gets a little bit more frantic. You have to retrace your steps in the actual level, destroy a shield generator, and then make it to the tunnel in time. And making one last pass through the level, the stings become more frequent and powerful as you fly into the tunnel and escape. It's a pretty cool ending to the level and a really fun ending to the song, I think.
Yeah, it's a really cool one. I love, and this is one thing I'd say just kind of about the whole soundtrack. You can tell that the soundtrack was written by like a legit musician, not somebody who just kind of moonlighted in video game composition, although technically he did because he did this game in Cyberia too.
Yeah.
But this is a career musician who has a good understanding of like pacing, of building a scene with the music and working along with something that's meant to be pretty cinematic, which, like we said, is kind of the way that this game plays. Just that the steady drum beat through the whole song, the stings here and there, it just kind of makes it feel like a Spycraft type game, and I love that. I think it's great.
Yeah, and again, that is probably the through line through all the songs. There is a hint of that Spycraft instrumentation. In other songs, it's going to be guitar. There's a little flute here in this song that kind of gives a covert feel to it. And yeah, the track itself is just very steady, very fun to listen to, especially towards the end. And yeah, there's something about that poppy drum that I really enjoy on this one. It's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Yeah, I really dig it. I think that it's a song that does a really good job of sort of setting the stage for the way that the rest of the game is going to play out musically. Mm-hmm. I'm presuming that this must be early in the game, right? It's titled Military Port. So does this come up pretty early in the game?
I think it's level 3.
Level 3.
Of the 7. So middle, early. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And things definitely do ramp up after this.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just the song has a really nice pace to it. It stays nice and steady. It punches up the tension just a little bit, just enough at certain points. And I think that, like I said, it kind of sets the stage for the rest of the game. A lot of the musical themes kind of follow through into some of the picks that I have. I think that one of them actually both you and I shared, right? It was Ice Canyons. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This song's pretty cool. It's called Ice Canyons, and it's kind of funny, but one of the reasons that it caught my ear was that it literally sounds like Ice Canyons.
Right?
It's got this kind of tinkling, creaky noise in the background. There's like kind of a crunching sound, almost like you'd expect the sound of like ice falling from the side of a canyon wall or off the front of a glacier to sound, but put to music. And I really appreciated that. And then the electric guitar kicks in like 30 seconds in, and if this doesn't feel straight out of like the late 80s, early 90s, like that electronica style guitar,
that squealing guitar,
it's fantastic.
It's really cool because
cool. I see what you did there, Ice Canyon.
Oh, yes. No, I totally agree with you that it sounds cool. There are times where composers capture the actual setting that that the game's in or the level's in so well. This feels like it's very isolated, very cold, and very uncomfortable. But, you know, this game itself is not a spy game per se. You're not a special agent. You're just a computer nerd, essentially. But that makes sense in a lot of ways because the themes Kapitan utilizes are calmer, they're more subdued, yet still evoke the same sentiments. Whether it's a wind instrument playing a short, curious melody or a nice, clean electric guitar riff, there is often a spy motif around. And if there's one level that really sells it, it's the guitar-heavy Ice Canyon theme. So, you know, this level's theme, the music is soft, very much reflects the chill of the frozen mountains at nighttime. Kapitan manages to capture the feel of chill and ice with carefully timed waves of synth. All the while, the clean guitar in the background plays this gentle melody, again, capitalizing on those themes. The main instrument melody is a slightly dirtier electric guitar squealing a slow series of sustained notes. And, you know, towards the end, when your mission is coming to an end, it gets slightly more vibrant with those horns to indicate a threat. It is a big bad guy, but that is short-lived as you take him down. The song then slows back down and ends with a clean guitar lick coming to a slick end as your ship lands. And then the second half of the game begins. But yeah, beautiful track. I really love that one because I think more than anything else, more than perhaps maybe any of the other tracks, you really get that spy feeling, mostly with the guitars there.
Yeah, you know, during the interview that we had with Mike, you know, we talked about the fact that, you know, he really feels like he's more of like an experimental electronica artist. He was very, we'll call it humble in calling himself not a jazz musician, because obviously he holds traditional jazz musicians in very high regard. I think a lot of people that are in the music industry probably feel the same. But there's some real jazz vibes in a lot of the songs in this soundtrack, and this is one of them. Obviously, it's not as fast paced as jazz can be sometimes, but it's got that kind of little bit of funkiness to it that I really love.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's just a wonderful example of the complexity that a song can have without going too nuts. And this is just a very nice example of his music.
I dig it.
And you wanted to talk about, I believe it's Final Battle. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. And there's something kind of cool about this one with regards to somebody who worked on the song with Mr. Kapitan. Correct?
Yeah. This one, I believe, was recorded by Thomas Dolby. Anyone who listened to the interview would know that Thomas Dolby was the head of the company that was kind of solicited to make the music for this game. And yeah, he wrote the intro song and this one.
Yeah, this one, I mean, you can tell it has almost like a different feel than a lot of the other songs in the soundtrack. You know, a lot of the stuff that we've heard previously has been a little bit more, I wouldn't say subdued, but just it had that kind of like jazzy sort of spycraft 90s feel to it. This is a battle song, clearly. I mean, we have big bombastic horns. We have this repeating sound throughout the whole thing, which I can't quite place. It makes me think of like a big, you know, energy cannon firing or like an engine pulsing repeatedly. It's pretty cool. Do you know what that particular sound is, Mike, from having played?
I would say that it has nothing to do with per se the game itself, but that sound is actually, I would imagine, a very big tuba or a brass instrument of some sort. It's a very striking sound that keeps the level and the tension, at the ready. It's a very stressful, very important fight. It's the last fight of the game, and you're basically flying around in space, taking shots at a space station. It's pretty intense. And I think that brass horn at those stings and the higher horns, the trumpets, those are definitely very, it's almost heroic, but also very threatening at the same time. The main theme of this game is, this level is very intense, very, this is it. Yeah. And so you feel that while you're playing the game, and it's very effective. He uses horns to great effect in this song. And I definitely enjoy this one because I would have to say this is probably the most active song compared to Kapitan's other tracks. So this definitely is on the other side of the spectrum, but it does feel like it fits in. I know that's a big thing when more than one composer works on a game. You're wondering, do they go well together? And I think this does fit the theme of the game. And it definitely has a place on this album.
It's kind of cool. You get to about like the minute 55-second mark, and all of a sudden you hear this big explosion, and then some like voiceover saying, "See you in hell," and then the music just chills out. Like it settles down. I can tell that it must be that you've just destroyed the space station or the base or whatever that you've been flying around, and
exactly
kind of leads you into the outro of the game.
Pretty much. The voice you're hearing is Devlin, and he's the guy who got Zach, the main character, out of prison. He's, of course, Zach is a world-renowned computer hacker, and he got him out of prison to help him with this project. And, of course, he turns out to be the big bad guy.
Of course.
And, he's at the helm of this space station.
Yeah.
And, the game is not without its corny moments, and that's probably one of the bigger ones where you get the final shot on the space station and it cuts to Devlin saying, "See you in hell." Fire washes over the screen as the explosion kind of overtakes him. It's funny, but it's corny. I mean, we can't talk about the entire soundtrack. Again, it's not very long. But it is worth a listen to anyone who remembers this game or not. Anyone who likes electronica, I highly encourage you to listen to this because it's got a lot of attitude to it, some complexity, and you do get a theatrical feel with it. I wanted to comment briefly on the second game's soundtrack. And anyone who's played both Cyberia 1 and 2 knows that the second game is a drastic shift in tone from the first. From what we were told, it was under a new director. They scrapped the cinematic qualities, the intense imagery, and the spy thriller aspect in favor of what is essentially a nonstop rail shooter. So it's, to me, a massive disappointment. Everything that made the first game pop, even its quirks, brought life to it in ways that Cyberia 2 is just devoid of. And I think Kapitan's music is easily the best thing about the game. Although you can hear just how tied down he was. Even though he stated he did not enjoy the direction of the game and felt the creativity was hindered, he was doing his job. He did a great job. But primarily in Cyberia 2, the soundtrack is action-oriented. There's more spy guitars than ever, but it feels a lot less creative. And, that's not through any fault of his own. It's just there was a different goal in mind with that director. So worth a listen if you are so inclined. But I think this one takes the cake in terms of creativity. That's for sure.
Yeah. I gave it a quick listen. Not to say that it was not a good job done on the second one, but you can tell that it just didn't. The soundtrack didn't really have the same synthesis with the gameplay, because I did watch a long play, not all the way through, but it just this soundtrack just feels like it fits. That one, not so much. And I think that we got that during the interview that we did with
Yeah.
Mike as well. I don't think he was really that happy with the final product of either the game or the way that the soundtrack fits
Well,
in.
yeah, and I totally can understand that because the game itself feels very one note. It's all action, all, there are short moments of quote unquote cutscenes where your characters are talking on screen, and then you're right back into another rail shooter segment, and it's just almost never ending. And that's not necessarily a good thing. That doesn't mean it's action packed. It just means it's never ending. But yeah. So the soundtrack, again, has never been released. I asked Kapitan himself if it has ever been discussed, but he doesn't know who has the rights or anything like that. So an official release is unlikely, but he was kind enough to supply us with clean files of the original music, which is fantastic, very generous. Although, for anyone so inclined, you can find game rips online, YouTube, and places like that. So I highly, again, urge everyone to give this one a listen to. Show him some love. He has his own website, Mike Kapitan, Kapitan.com. Take a listen to his Sketches of Spin record on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. It's an actually really enjoyable record. I listened to that preparing for the interview, and goddamn, that guy is very talented. So,
yes, without a doubt.
Jesse, if you had to rate this game, what would you rate the soundtrack?
I don't know what is in the game that I can use as a funny, cool rating scale. So I'm going to rate this I'm going to go like an 8 out of 10 Zach deaths.
Perfect.
Because it seems like that's a common thing that happens in the game. Not knocking it at all for, not giving it a 10, but it's just, I think I don't have enough exposure to it to have that same sort of like emotional tie. So I listen to it strictly as just a piece of music, and it's rated very, very highly, but it doesn't really like blow me away. Right. So yeah, 8 out of 10 Zach deaths.
Awesome. I too would give it an 8 out of 10 TF-22 fighters, which is what you fly around in. It's a great soundtrack. I love it. It's not without its moments, its flaws. I think there are some small moments where I would have liked to hear music in the game itself, but I'm sure that's not so much up to Mike Kapitan himself and more up to the director of the game. But still, excellent soundtrack. I get a lot of nostalgia, which is partially what this podcast is about, but we also are here to recognize genuine skill, and this guy is awesome. So, yeah, 8 out of 10. I think that's a solid choice for both of us.
There we go.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. I apologize for such a long break. Hopefully, we will be back on a more regular schedule now, and we do have some surprises coming up in the near future. Got some other interviews lined up. So, Jesse, if you would like to say goodbye to the good listeners, please do so.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for your patience while we got ourselves back in the studio to do a recording. And really looking forward to what you guys think of this and all the episodes soon to come.
All right. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe. We very much appreciate it. Also visit our brand new website, magusmediaproductions.net, to get all information on every show. See you next time.
Mission objective in range.